Today we're going to feature the EarthQuaker Devices Afterneath Otherworldly Reverberation Pedal. We're going to test this thing out on a live drum kit today. We're going to play along with Prophet X. We're going to create some sequences on the synth and play along. And like I said, we're going to run live drums through this just to kind of see how it impacts a drum sound, see if we can get a sweet tone or like an interesting setting with this pedal on drums. I think I'm just going to kind of cut the intro short, just dive right into some of the playing and some of the sounds, and then we can chat about it after. All right, let's see what this thing does to live drums. Let's go. So I got a lot to say about this pedal. I think I'll start off with just my gut reaction, my first reactions to this pedal. I love the drag setting on this. The drag knob is my favorite thing, especially if I had an expression pedal attached to this thing. I think that would be really fun. So I could use both of my hands to play the drums and then like use my foot to adjust the drag knob. That would be really cool. One of the things that was a little bit challenging for me and this pedal was the mix knob. I found that on drums, it was a little bit difficult to get the signal of the effect loud enough. The like dry signal came through really well. I was able to get a lot of drum volume through it, but it was hard to get like a really, really loud saturated reverb level when I was trying to record it. That was tough. I had to boost the gain on the mixer a lot. So I don't know if I was just doing something wrong in my like signal path, or if I could have run the audio into this thing in a different way, but that was a challenge. I tend to gravitate towards the shorter length and reflect times. I noticed that if you boost the length and the reflect knobs to close to max, it definitely self-oscillates pretty quick. And on drums, when that starts to happen, I noticed on this pedal that it would lose all of the reverb effect on the drums. So the drums would become completely dry, and all the processing, all the effect basically is taken over by the self-oscillation. So it's like oscillating, it's kind of continuing its reverb sound forever, but it's not applying any new reverb to what you play while it's self-oscillating. So just a small little thing. I think this pedal's amazing. I would love to see the mix stronger, like be able to apply like a full reverb sound, like a completely wet, like 100% wet. I think that would be awesome if it had that feature. But overall, it sounds neat on drums. I would just need to tweak my setup, I think, a little bit different, like maybe run it, just change the routing. So I'm not sure how I would do that yet, but it's got me thinking. It also really has me thinking about getting an expression pedal and testing that out on effects in future videos. If you think I should do that, let me know. If you have a suggestion on a good expression pedal, let me know, and I'll try and swoop that. Yeah, besides that, I want to just I really like the manual on this thing. So for all the nerds out there, stick with me. I'm going to read over the language that EarthQuaker Devices sent out in the box with this pedal, because I think it's awesome. And it really helps kind of unpack what this pedal is all about. So this is the education part. If you're not into that, I'll see you in the next video. But if you want to kind of learn about what each one of these knobs does, let's get into that now. Welcome to the Afterneath Otherworldly Reverberation Machine from EarthQuaker Devices. The Afterneath sounds a lot like it looks, a wizard bursting forth from ethereal cave and ready for the ambient battle. You are the wizard, or sorceress, if you prefer. And the cave is your instrument signal, vast, expansive, and magical. Do you go inside? Roll a d20 to proceed. Once inside, a reflection of light from an unknown source catches your eye, and you notice a bizarre sheen on the walls of the cave. You timidly inch closer to the walls of the cave. Placing your hand gently on the cavern wall, you feel the rock move. The cave is alive. Alarmed, you emit a loud gasp, which reverberates throughout the subterranean landscape. Upon further listening, it appears as though the reverberations of your voice are in fact a swarm of short digital delays, which may be used to create wild and cavernous reverbs, or scattered short rhythmic delays with bizarre characteristics. That was my favorite. Take a moment to consider your intelligence and wisdom scores, as well as your spell inventory before proceeding further. You have 7 spells at your disposal. Will you cast Length, which controls the decay length of the reverb? What about Diffuse, which adjusts the spread of the reverb? With your wand, or just the knob, turned counterclockwise, the reverb is sharper with more attack, resulting in a stuttering sputter of individual early reflections. Clockwise casts a washy, more ambient-sounding hex. Overwhelmed by fear, you hastily cast Dampen. As you shout the incantation, You notice that a counterclockwise variation of this bell results in brighter tones, while you rotate the wand clockwise, you hear darker tones with a mellower top end. It's almost as if your magic changes the hardness of the cavern walls, and thus the tonal characteristics of the reverb. All right, so dampen is tone. Elsewhere in your book of magic is drag. That was my favorite knob, which separates the individual delay lines, literally dragging them throughout the very fabric of time and space towards an unknown event horizon from which they may never return. Clockwise drag positions will gather the delay lines closer together for a more reverb-like effect. Turn the drag counterclockwise, and the delay lines will begin to pull apart for a scattered ping-pong delay effect. Again, that was my favorite, the kind of lower counterclockwise setting. The drag can be put under voltage or expression control using the expression pedal jack, located on the side. And it adjusts the 9 different modes. These modes are unquantized, quantized with slew, unquantized, a bunch of different modes. Chromatic scale, major scale, minor scale, pentatonic scale, octaves and fifths, and octaves. The modes drastically change the way the drag control functions, especially while using an expression control or CV. The reflect knob alters the depth of the cave, and with it, the regeneration of the reverb. This acts like a feedback control and will self-oscillate if cast by a high-level user. Turn clockwise for more wash and echoes, and counterclockwise for less. Finally, the mix alters the alchemical balance between the input signal and the effect. The Afterneath does not go fully wet, but does lower the level of the input signal if you raise the control to create the appearance of a fully wet reverb. That's my one issue with this pedal, is not being able to do a 100% wet signal. Especially on drums, that would have been really useful, just because I noticed that the drum signal going into it was super hot. It kind of buried the reverb level on a lot of the settings. The Afterneath features a completely analog dry signal path, totally digital delay path, buffered bypass with a flexi switch technology, and a tails no tails option on bypass. Each and every Afterneath is built by a mix of robots and human beings in the torchlit cave community of Akron, Ohio. Awesome. So real quick, I'll go over the modes. The mode switch in the center, that small knob. It sounds like there's 9 different modes, and I'll just kind of go over those real quick. The modes control changes the way the drag control functions. The LED will change colors indicating which mode you are in. All right, mode 1 is unquantized. Mode 2 is unquantized with slew. Mode 3 is unquantized volt per octave. Mode 4 is a chromatic scale. 5 is a minor scale. 6 is a major scale, Lydian. 7 is a pentatonic scale, quantized. And 8 is octaves and fifths, quantized. Mode 9 is just octaves. So yeah, pretty neat. I think a couple other thoughts that I had about this pedal. Oh, sorry. So that's the meat and potatoes of the manual. I love how they made it super nerdy and all about D&D. Any D&D nerds out there, comment below. Let me know what your die roll is. Roll a die, let me know what you got. So yeah, I also tested this thing on guitar just to make sure that the input signal level of the reverb wasn't just totally wrong on drums. And in guitar, it sounded phenomenal. The mix knob was totally fine on guitar and sounded super cool. When I was first messing with this pedal, I really didn't understand the drag knob, but when I tried it on guitar, it made a ton of sense and was super musical, really fun to use. So I think, to be honest, it would be really neat to use this in conjunction with the guitar, and like maybe try to do a performance where you sync up the drag manipulations to be exactly the same on guitar or some melodic instrument, and then do the same thing on a drum performance at the same time so they sync together. I think that would be really fun. The drag knob is a little bit weird on drums because it's melodic, right? So the drums, especially the snare, don't have a ton of melodic content. So I think it was interesting to try to use the drag knob, which is based on melodic information on something like a snare drum or a hi-hat, something that doesn't have a lot of sustain. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I love the pedal. Super, super neat. Let me know if you like this pedal or if you've used it on any tracks. Links to tracks below. I'd love to hear it. Comments and suggestions on pedals that you think I should try next. And that's it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're making some awesome music, staying creative. Make sure to call a friend, tell them you love them, see what's going on, check in, ask how they're doing, and see what they're up to musically. Stay connected and let's be inspired, y'all. All right, till next time.